Dio Brando. Dio Brando is the main villain of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure and basically the human embodiment of what if evil had amazing fashion sense. Born in poverty in London to the abusive Dario Brando, Dio grew up hating his miserable life and dreaming of absolute power. After Dario died, Dio was adopted into the wealthy Joestar family because George Joestar believed Dario once saved his life. Instead of being thankful like a normal person, Dio immediately decided, "Nice mansion, I'll steal it." He bullied Jonathan Joestar, manipulated everyone around him, and secretly planned to inherit the Joestar fortune by poisoning George. When his schemes were exposed, Dio used the mysterious stone mask, transforming himself into a vampire with terrifying supernatural abilities. As a vampire, Dio gained immense strength, super speed, regeneration, enhanced senses, immortality, and the ability to freeze opponents with his body, which is somehow both horrifying and incredibly rude. Later in the series, after stealing Jonathan's body, Dio awakens the stand called the World, which allows him to stop time for several seconds. Naturally, he uses this godlike power for dramatic speeches, throwing knives, and dropping a road roller on people, because subtlety clearly was never his thing. Karse. Karse is the main villain of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure Battle Tendency and the genius leader of the ancient Pillar Men, a superhuman race that humans basically treated like gods because they were absurdly powerful and impossible to kill with normal methods. Unfortunately for them, sunlight was their kryptonite, so they spent most of their lives hiding underground like extremely angry goths. Karse hated this weakness so much that he created the stone mask, hoping it would evolve his species into beings immune to the sun. Instead, things went horribly wrong, and he ended up massacring most of his own race because they opposed his experiments. Talk about workplace disagreement. Karse possesses incredible intelligence, regeneration, superhuman strength, body manipulation, and his signature light mode, where he creates razor-sharp bone blades from his arms that reflect blinding light and slice through objects like cars and bullets as if they were butter. He can also absorb living beings and reshape his body at will. After obtaining the red stone of Aja, Karse becomes the ultimate life form, gaining the DNA and abilities of every organism on Earth, sunlight immunity, reactive evolution, and even Haman stronger than Joseph Joestar. Basically, he evolved with an ego problem. Despite becoming nearly immortal, Karse is ultimately defeated when Joseph accidentally launches him into space, where he drifts forever, unable to die, but also unable to do literally anything. The universe really said, mute and remove from the server.
Yoshikage Kira. Yoshikage Kira is the main villain of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable, and somehow he turned living a quiet life into the creepiest hobby imaginable. On the surface, Kira looks like an ordinary Japanese office worker who just wants peace, routine, and a nice sandwich after work. But secretly, he is a serial killer obsessed with women's hands. Yes, hands. Not jewelry, not shoes, just hands. The Mona Lisa probably regrets existing after inspiring this man. Born in Morio in 1966, Kira spent his childhood trying to stay average and unnoticed, never standing out in school or competitions, which is honestly the most terrifying LinkedIn strategy ever. Eventually, his father gave him a stand arrow connected to Dio, awakening his stand Killer Queen. Killer Queen allows Kira to turn anything it touches into a bomb, instantly blowing people up without leaving evidence behind, which perfectly fits his obsession with keeping his crimes hidden. The stand also has Sheer Heart Attack, a tiny, indestructible heat-seeking tank bomb, because apparently regular explosions were not enough. Later, Kira gains Bites the Dust, a horrifying ability that creates a time loop and explodes anyone who learns his identity. Basically, he weaponized Mind Your Business. Despite all this power, Kira mostly just wants to avoid attention, drink tea peacefully, and continue being Morio's worst neighbor. Diavolo. Diavolo is the main villain of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure Part 5, Vento Arreo, and he is basically what happens when paranoia gets promoted to mafia boss.
As the mysterious leader of passion, Diavolo is obsessed with hiding his identity so much that he treats personal information like it's nuclear launch codes. He was born under bizarre circumstances in an all-female prison in Sardinia during the summer of 1967, with his mother claiming she had been pregnant for 2 whole years and that no father existed. Yeah, Jojo logic starts early. After being sent to live with a priest, Diavolo eventually discovered mysterious stand arrows during an excavation trip to Egypt, sold most of them, and used the rest to help build Passion into one of Italy's most powerful criminal organizations. He also shares a body with his alternate personality, Vinegar Doppio, who acts like a nervous, phone-addicted intern while Diavolo acts like Satan with a business degree. His stand, King Crimson, is one of the most terrifying abilities in Jojo, because it can predict the future and erase up to 10 seconds of time, making attacks against him basically turn into, "Wait, what just happened?" moments. Diavolo uses this power to dodge danger, confuse enemies, and maintain his rule through fear, secrecy, and enough dramatic poses to break several spine laws.
Enrico Pucci. Enrico Pucci is the main villain of Jojo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean, and somehow proves that giving a priest superpowers is a terrible idea. Born into a wealthy and deeply religious Italian-American family, Pucci originally wanted to live a holy life, but tragedy and bad decisions hit him harder than a stand barrage. After discovering that his younger sister Perla was unknowingly dating their long-lost brother West Blue Marine, later known as Weather Report, Pucci tried to separate them. Unfortunately, the detective he hired turned out to be a racist lunatic connected to the Ku Klux Klan, which caused a chain of disasters ending with Perla's death. Traumatized and desperate for meaning, Pucci became devoted to Dio, who basically became his evil life coach. Dio introduced him to the idea of reaching heaven, a world where everyone knows their fate, and Pucci dedicated his life to making that happen, because apparently therapy was not an option. Pucci's powers evolved throughout the story with 3 terrifying stands. Whitesnake can steal people's memories and stands as CDs, which is both horrifying and weirdly convenient for storage. Seamoon manipulates gravity and flips people inside out, which is definitely not covered in normal priest training. Finally, Made in Heaven accelerates time itself until the universe resets, making Pucci one of the most absurdly overpowered villains in the entire franchise. Funny Valentine. Funny Valentine is the main villain of Steel Ball Run and somehow manages to be both a patriotic president and a terrifying multiverse menace at the same time. He is the 23rd President of the United States in the story, born in Philadelphia in 1747, and his entire worldview was shaped by a tragic childhood. When Valentine was young, his father was captured and tortured during war, but refused to betray his country, dying while protecting a handkerchief with Funny's birth date sewn into it. That moment basically turned Valentine into the human embodiment of America first, except taken to supervillain levels. He secretly organized the Steel Ball Run race to gather the Saints' Corpse, a holy relic he believed could make the United States the world's greatest power. Despite acting calm, noble, and just, Valentine is ruthless enough to sacrifice basically anyone for his goals, all while talking like a politician who drank too much philosophy coffee. His stand, Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, or D4C, lets him travel between parallel universes by squeezing himself between objects, like walls, flags, or anything convenient enough to make physics cry. He can swap himself with alternate versions of himself, making him almost impossible to kill, which is basically the ultimate nuh-uh ability. Later, D4C evolves into Love Train, creating a barrier that redirects all bad luck and damage away from Valentine onto random unlucky people elsewhere in the world.
Toru. Toru is the main antagonist of Jojo Lion, and honestly, he looks less like a terrifying supervillain and more like a guy who would recommend underground indie music while stealing your lunch money through the laws of the universe. Toru is actually a rock human, a strange species that lives alongside regular humans while secretly blending into society. As a baby, he was abandoned in the wilderness and grew up inside a wasp nest because apparently normal childhoods are illegal in Jojo. Around 17 years later, he fully matured, wiped out the hornets, and quietly entered society in Morio while hiding his true nature. He later became the mastermind behind the Loka Kaka organization and worked at TG University Hospital while using his stand to impersonate the hospital director, Satoru Akefu. Toru's main goal was to use the new Loka Kaka fruit to create revolutionary medicine and place rock humans at the top of society because world domination is apparently easier than therapy. His stand, Wonder of You, is one of the scariest abilities in Jojo because it controls calamity. If someone tries to pursue Toru or even thinks about chasing him, horrible accidents start happening to them automatically. Rain can slice people apart, tiny objects become deadly missiles, and life itself basically says, "Congratulations, you played yourself." The stand can also disguise itself as a human and act independently, making Toru feel less like a villain and more like an unavoidable natural disaster with headphones. Hacca Howler. Hacca Howler is the current main antagonist of the 9th JoJo part, the JoJo Lands, and he is basically what happens when a billionaire mixes luxury, family pride, and anime villain energy into one Hawaiian business emperor. Hacca is the 8th head of the Howler Company, a powerful organization founded by his Italian ancestor Latrato after discovering mysterious lava rocks in Hawaii back in the 1800s. The family later became absurdly wealthy through land ownership and infrastructure development, and Hacca inherited both the fortune and the ego that came with it. He's obsessed with protecting his company's land and wealth, to the point that he sends his subordinates after Jodio Joestar and his crew once they stumble into Howler's secrets. Hacca is portrayed as flashy, narcissistic, and ridiculously rich, bragging about fancy Rolls-Royces and premium kombu like he's reviewing luxury seafood on YouTube. Despite his smug personality, he's also dangerous because he possesses a stand called Eclipse 8, a mysterious humanoid stand connected to Mist Generation. Its exact abilities are still unclear, but the stand can create strange fog-like phenomena and has already shown terrifying effects involving objects suddenly launching upward with deadly force. In true JoJo fashion, the power is both confusing and horrifying, meaning fans are already preparing flowcharts and conspiracy theories just to understand one attack.
Hey everyone, thank you for watching until the end. I'll be back with more videos, so make sure to like and subscribe.